Boss lady, what's going on?
Lots.
Yeah?
Everything is going on.
Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure.
In the boss, I used to read the bios and stuff like that. And I figured people can Google that stuff now. So I always start my podcast by saying that so people know that must actually do it and go Google.
Do some homework.
Yeah. So today we're just gonna kick off. I've got a couple of things I've got here that I wanna ask you.
Sure.
So that we get our bodies warm and we relax before we kickstart the interview. What makes Merissa tick?
I think I've always been driven by having really broad goals.
Yeah.
The only people I really want to impress are my kids.
Yeah.
So that makes me tick. I want to show them that stuff's not impossible and it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are or what your background might be.
Yeah.
That you can achieve anything.
Nice.
If you really work very hard. And I want to do the same for younger people in the industry.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff is I set my own competition. Let me put it that way.
That's good. How many kids do you have?
5.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I want to have 4 kids. Yeah, but people tell me I'm crazy.
No, it's a lot of fun.
Is it? There we go.
When you have one,
yeah,
because I have lots of friends who have one, and I have family that have one.
Yeah,
you are the entire entertainment for the one.
Yes.
When you have lots of kids, they are friends with each other. You have so much time. You're like, oh,
yeah, that's good.
Playing if 2 fight, the other 2 are friends.
Yeah.
Even to this day.
That's crazy.
My brothers, I come from a family of 5.
Yeah.
My older brothers and I, because my youngest brother was born way too late.
Yeah.
We still gang up into those same packs of my brother, my sister, and myself and my other brother against each other. We're full-grown adults. We're still in those things.
I love it. If you had to write a book by yourself or about yourself, or someone had to write a book about you, what would the title of that book be?
I would say The Alchemist, but it already exists.
Yeah.
Because it is about creating change, or The Catalyst.
The Catalyst. Okay, I love that. We'll circle back to that. And then the last one. If you're not doing what you were doing today, what would you be doing?
Be an author.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, hectic.
I'm getting there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, eventually.
Okay, I'm excited about that. When are we releasing?
I'm not going to put a date to it because I've been talking about it for so long. It's now at the point where I am embarrassing when I talk about I should be published.
Yeah.
So let's say next 2 years, you should see some activity.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you for indulging me. Now let's kick off with the stuff people want to know. So you currently are the CEO of Wavemaker South Africa.
Correct.
And when we were chatting, you and I offline, is that Wavemaker globally is number 2.
Yeah.
As a media agency. So to set the context, I need you to help me here. 1, do 2 things. Almost break down Wavemaker and its role as a media agency, what media agencies do, because I don't think everyone knows what media agencies do.
Yeah.
And then 2, double down on the importance of media agencies in just the lay of the land of marketing and business.
So, of course, I'm gonna shoot Wavemaker's horn. Right?
No, by all means do that. Yeah.
So Wavemaker is what we call a creative media agency.
Okay.
So we're very performance focused, which means when you, as a marketer or as a brand, give us your budget to invest in media, we're not just looking for performance. We're also looking for a way to do things differently and to drive that impact and innovation. And the reason that we're number 2 in the world is because we do that incredibly well. So, Can Titanium winner for the Mondelez Diwali ads, literally using AI and tech and doing dynamic creative optimization on steroids.
Yeah.
Is kind of what we are known for.
Big businesses and brands that suffered during the pandemic found their way back, but the smaller stores still suffer.
This lockdown has been a real tough phase of my life. I mean, I have seen bad days, but this was the worst.
Last year we helped small businesses through Diwali, so this year we decided to bring it back. Presenting not just a Cadbury ad. This Diwali, we helped hundreds of small businesses by making India's biggest brand ambassador be their brand ambassador.
इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाले फैशन नोवा एम्पोरियम से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना और फिर एम्पायर फुटवेयर नाम तो सुना होगा अपना स्टाइलिश चश्मा बगल वाले हेवन आई ऑप्टिशियन से ही लेना सिद्धि विनायक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स से लेटेस्ट स्मार्टफोन खरीदकर धमाकेदार सेल्फी पोस्ट करना
क्या कर रहे हो मीठा लाए कि नहीं
लाया हो ना यार अपने पास वाले रोशन किराना से आप भी अपना मीठा वहीं से लेना
We used machine learning to recreate Shah Rukh Khan's face and voice to take the local store names in the ads.
इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाली चॉइस ऑफ फैशन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना पास वाले आजकल फैशन से ही रॉयल फैशन से ही एनके क्लॉथ्स से ही पास वाली लक्ष्मी कलेक्शन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना इस दिवाली आप भी ना
Different versions of the same ad with local store names were targeted as per the PIN code of the viewer, showing them only the nearby stores. But it is impossible to cover all the stores. So we gave the power to the people to create their own version of not just a Cadbury ad. Any small business owner could promote their stores through their own social media networks like WhatsApp forwards and other social media pages.
शाहरुख खान मेरी दुकान का ऐड करें
हमारे आसपास की जो दुकानें हैं उनकी दिवाली भी तो मीठी होनी चाहिए
Cadbury celebrations, not just a Cadbury ad.
Okay.
And then just performance marketing or the investment of budgets to drive performance for real business results. So one of the big things we focus on is that we're not just your media agency. We need to partner to understand the business problem you need to solve. And then we need to figure out how marketing and media, that communication channel, is going to help solve that problem to end up giving you the return that you want. From what is a media agency and what does it do? Media agencies, I think a lot of people think like we just do media buying.
Yeah, true.
Like we are the middleman and we go to all the media houses and then we go give me 5 spots here and a radio spot or whatever.
Yeah.
We do so much more than that.
Tell me about that.
We sit on so much of data and information, our own research into how consumers behave, the neuroscience behind why you would buy Nike over Adidas, you know, all of those interesting things across categories are housed in our tools and understanding. And we take that understanding of consumers and audiences and we apply that to how they would purchase your product and build plans out of that and how to best reach them. Because we also have the data of what people are watching, viewing, engaging with online, for how long. We sit on so much of information. Sometimes I feel like we don't have sufficient time to really drill down into it. But when we do, that's when magic campaigns happen. We really have the ability to just make people notice and shift. Any campaign, any ad campaign that you have loved over time, some media agency person got on air or outdoor or, arranged a plane to fly over the stadium, whatever the thing is, a media person was involved in that decision. And that's the role we play, is like we bridge the gap between very creative ideas and then the practical application of the available money that you have to spend. Because I think CMOs have always had a hard time justifying the investment.
True.
But now, in this current age, even more so, or like today, even more so, because of the economy and worldwide, it's tough. So they have to justify even more why they want to invest. Because the first thing any business does is look at like cutting advertising spend, even though the laws of marketing say, please advertise in a recession because you will do well. Nobody follows that. Very few brands.
True. So that's an interesting, and I love how you've just broken it down for us. Now, let's start in the beginning. How are you then introduced to this world of, call it media agency lifestyle? And how long have you been in it?
I've been in the industry for, call it 20 21 years this year,
Hectic.
as old as my youngest child. That's how I remember.
Yeah.
I left the world of finance behind.
Hectic.
So, like, I come from the world that cut media budgets. And I went.
I'm gonna save it. When I go out,
I went
save
to
it.
work at a friend's ad agency.
Yeah.
And we had worked together in my very first job. I was just in admin in the motor industry. And he started this ad agency and said, come see what it's like. Maybe it'll be interesting for you. And so I worked at the ad agency and I met the media team.
Got you.
So they were a small media team, still in existence today. And they bought all of our media. And I got on incredibly well with them. Like I loved working with them. I wanted to understand more. They always give me the information I needed. It would be like, the client asked for billboards and then they would just send me a schedule. Here are the available billboards.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by like this part of it because it's very much a very happy marriage of logic and creativity.
Got you.
So the ad agency was very small, below the line. I think we were 8 or 9 people.
Yeah.
And we lost our biggest client. First time in my entire, first and last time, in my entire career, I had to go through a liquidation process of a business. And it was very traumatic because we were also just these babies doing this thing, right? And as that happened, the media agency was looking for somebody to manage finances.
Yeah.
And they said to me, like, we love working with you. Don't you want to come across?
Yeah.
So that's how I got into media. For me, it felt like a secret job I never knew existed. And I think for a lot of people, it feels like that.
Still like that right now.
Yeah, still like that right now. If people don't know what media agencies do, they kind of get a feel for it, but only when you're in the industry do you start to understand.
True.
And so I got onboarded into the smaller agency, but I was in the finance department. And I would finish all my work early so I could go down to the media department, sit with them and try and learn. And so whenever somebody offered, I'd be like, can I quickly just fill in for this person? I eventually started strategic planning, writing strategies, and then moved to another job at the media shop at the time. As a senior strategist, and was there for a while, managing a whole lot of accounts, and then moved to MEC, which became Wavemaker, to head up Vodacom for some time. And I love strategy because it is very much like looking at what you have to work with in terms of investment, trying to achieve the client's goals, but also doing amazing work and working with, I cannot stress enough how incredible media owners are as partners. They just, in a media agency relationship, your client is very important, but your media owner relationships are more important.
Why do you say that?
Because these are the people you're calling at like 6 o'clock. Your ad is about to flight at 6:15, saying, please pull the ad. My client said the ad mustn't flight. There's a mistake on the pricing or whatever the case may be. And those relationships, like on the back end, the amount of work that those relationships help get through and up, like we would turn around, and I'm going to get into trouble for this.
You'll never get into trouble on my show. Don't worry.
A billboard in a day.
Yeah.
Because it was urgent. We had like global visitors and they needed the entire route map from the airport to Midrand.
It must be there.
It must be there. The brand must be there. It must be
there.
And you would do that stuff, and people still do that stuff today.
It's true.
But it's because of the strength of those relationships. People like other people. We are quite social as people. And once you have very strong relationships, there's nothing that people won't do for you. And it's not that you're paying them to do it either. This is the strangest thing for me, coming from a very clinical commercial background.
Got you.
To understand that actually people just like doing good work.
Yes.
And they will go over and beyond.
True.
I was always like, please, can you help me? And thank you so much. And the one thing I want to say is like, no matter where you may be in this media chain, like never lose that humility because you need people to help you. Because something will go wrong. Or
Story of our lives.
Story of our lives, Somebody makes a mistake, or I once flighted a campaign a day early.
Oh no.
Yeah. And it wasn't my fault, and it wasn't the client's fault, but there was somebody senior that hadn't seen the campaign and approved it. We had to pull everything.
Crazy.
Like everything. Radio, TV, interviews, everything. And I'll never forget that. I was with my kids at an event. I had to leave. I left them there because it was like some show.
Shame, man.
Went home and got on the phone, called my boss and said, I need you to help me because I can't call everybody at the same
Yes.
time. But this cannot go out. And we worked through the night because the first interviews were at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And it didn't happen. It like happened the day after because we had to stop it,
Yeah.
then wait for the senior person to go, yeah, I'm happy.
And
then
then,
start it.
yes.
Right? So it's those sorts of things where everybody has, and my story is not unique.
Yes.
Every single media person
I'm sure it's gone through it.
has gone through this
Yeah.
story of like the most random things they've had to do.
Ah, no.
You know,
That's crazy. But you live and you learn.
of course, it's fun.
Now, tell me where we are currently in South Africa. Like, what does the media landscape look like? And I asked the question, and I'll give you context. I asked the question because I think even the people that are watching here, so we've got a couple of CMOs that watch the show, and a couple of junior people as well, because obviously they're aspiring to hold the role of a CMO and any marketing executive. So I think the current context of the South African landscape, what does it actually look like? And what does it mean?
I think the current context is, you know, we've been waiting for a long time for that digital shift to happen, where media is now more digitally led than traditional media. We are trying to close the gap in bringing and building more user experience scenario planning into our plans to help marketers understand what they need to do within their organizations, where they need to say, like, guys, like, what's the user experience here? I mean, we can see people are so impatient now.
Yeah. You don't have time.
You don't have time.
Yeah.
So please don't make me do 5 things
Before I get to the
I
thing.
get
Yeah.
to the thing. Right? Like it's 2
True.
or 3 at most.
Yeah.
The minute the competition is going and then fill this in.
Yes.
You're like,
Take a picture of this and then
Yeah.
send it here and then, yeah.
the drop-off rate increases. And having to justify that back is like, it becomes a challenge.
That's crazy. And then with that landscape looking like that and the shift to digital, how then do South Africans currently consume media?
So it's very interesting,
Yeah.
because it's now starting to split among or along generational lines.
Got you.
You can literally see the split of Gen Z
Yeah.
and I would say like all the way up to like boomers or like, you know, your senior citizens
Yeah.
versus millennial kind of consumers. I mean Gen X, not Gen Z, sorry.
Yeah.
In our market in its infancy, but starting to gain so much of traction that in 2 years' time, for example, TV viewing is going to look super different.
Is it?
Yeah, completely.
And I asked that because for the longest time, it always feels like South Africa is lagging behind, right, with the shifts. It's always like, no, we still are like traditional media people. Put things on TV, we'll be fine.
I think you're still going to have that for at least another 15 years, to be honest, because you have those generations of viewers for whom everything is kind of around the viewing experience.
Yeah.
But that's being eroded by younger people. They don't watch the
No,
same
I don't.
way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's not, people don't gather around in a lounge in front of the TV.
True.
They kind of like, oh, I'll binge watch this whenever. Or they might do like a watch party with friends.
Yes.
Or everybody's watching something, but it's something that came out months ago and it's all in one go, you know.
Bridgerton, I think, is the latest thing right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and even if I think of like, I mean, my children range in age from millennial to Gen Z to Alpha. I'm like, okay, they do not.
You've got insights. I was about to say, you got insights in the house.
I look at their friends. You know, once you're a strategist, you're constantly studying everybody. You can't help yourself. And I'm like, the only thing is sport. The only thing is live sport.
True.
And as long as we have live sport, I would say there's a place for TV. It's not like TV is going to die. It's going to change and evolve.
Yeah.
It's going to become a lot more functional. And I think all the TV players know that. They know they need to be more interactive, more engaging, more... Look, the thing that does really well in our market is local content. It's the same as with, like, the streaming guys have caught up with that, right? So you're seeing Netflix...
Yes, they bring a lot of
local stuff.
True.
Showmax is producing, Prime is producing, all local kind of flavored content in order to get those viewers.
Yeah.
So that's still going to remain.
Gotcha.
And those will be things and like 10 polls that people watch. But what's going to change is like the sort of guaranteed, at 5 o'clock moms watch the Scopen kind of. that's going to change. I'll say like in the next 5 years, those things you'll see fundamental gaps.
Yeah. Okay. And then if you look at then the industry, you've spoken about where it is, the shifts and the consumers. Where have you seen possibly the biggest gap for marketers and brand owners to say, actually, guys, this is something we're not focusing on, but it's coming up and it's coming up quickly?
That's a very interesting question. I think for me, the podcasting space is super interesting.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of brands being very involved.
True.
And yet, I see a lot of executives being very involved in consuming podcasts. All of us
It's true.
are listening to podcasts on the way to work, on the way from the office, over the weekend,
Yes.
busy like with extramurals with your kids and
Yes.
stuff. We literally are tuned into podcasts that are educational, inspirational, or topical, and very few brands are in that space. And I think I understand that it's not as, you think like the size of the audience is not as big as international markets and so on, but there's gaps. There's like massive gaps where I feel like, oh, brand could own this.
Yes.
And could be really smart about how they curate this.
Yes.
And their different avenues and how you would activate. But nobody's getting to it quick enough. After they see this might change, of course. But I feel like there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And then in what we call addressable media.
Okay,
So
what is that?
addressable media is the use of technology. So the use of like AI, the use of computer code really, to kind of look at consumer behavior and then serve them different content based on whatever they're putting into search engines or interacting with. So dynamic creative optimization, which is basically taking creative, but making some of the elements interchangeable. So for example, when you shoot an ad, you say, okay, we're going to green screen the background, so I can change the background in post.
Yes.
And instead of a team doing it, AI is doing it based on the consumer sort of like preference for content. So if you think on Instagram, I like stuff that has a lot of red in it, then I'm going to see an ad and it might be for a pair of Nikes. And the background, because the AI has realized, I like red, the background of this ad is going to be red or it's going to be something. So that is addressable. It means the ad is tailored for you.
Wow.
And that stuff we haven't fully explored and exploded in this market properly. It's coming, like we have different media agencies and creative agencies, including our own at WPP, that do this sort of thing. That wave is coming into South Africa now. Some of the brands are already exploring it, and we're not the only ones. I think like there's quite a few media houses that have the capabilities, but we haven't really sunk our teeth into that side of things yet.
And you kind of mentioned AI as well. I think it's like a buzzword. So I'm like reluctant on buzzwords. Because I think as marketers, we've got this thing about like the latest thing and the new shiniest thing we want to talk about.
So do you want to say like AI is not going to replace your media people?
Yes.
Right? So it's not, it enhances how we plan. So we have AI built into our tools.
And you've had it for a while.
And we've had it for a while. Where it's machine learning. It's code that is recognizing all the possible scenarios and then giving you the best, most optimized plan.
Got you.
And that saves us a lot of time. We still have to interrogate the plan and go, okay, in South Africa, does this make sense? Knowing what we know about how our market is and how it reacts, and then put that human information onto the plan before we send it back to our clients. So it's saving us internal time. It's never going to take away that human understanding of nuance. So AI is not that nuanced. It's not. No matter how clever they may say it is,
it's not yet.
It's not. When it's sentient, which is when it becomes aware. Right. That's what and it's happened in a couple of instances. Immediately, that changes the picture, but we will never get to that point because everybody that works within the environment knows if something is informed by you and then starts to inform itself, its information is limited by the last information you fed it in.
Got you.
And then it's going to get to a point where it's no longer consulting you but trying to do something new. We're ideators. We create. So we will never not have a need for human beings in this equation.
I totally agree with that. Okay. I think makes everyone feel a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, no, like, so don't try and replace, please don't try and replace your creative teams.
Yeah.
Or, all I'm saying is that there's certain tools in tech that makes a lot of the difficult things, like why did this creative in the digital space perform better than this one? It just did. Let the AI figure out and serve it so that it performs it the way that you want, and you get because it's just sight and the clicks to purchase. Like, as long as that's happening, you're good.
Okay.
You know, like let it optimize the creative for you. That's all it is.
Nah, that's good. Okay, cool. We're at peace now.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on is the relationships now. You kind of alluded to them, the importance of it. And while you and I were chatting offline, you mentioned that you're quite concerned about like the industry and what's going on. Do you want to talk about that and what your concerns are really?
I think, look, from a media point of view, I know the reputation media has.
Okay. I don't tell me.
From the outside, if you look at, it always looks like we're always at some functions and we're always doing really cool stuff. We are.
Yeah.
But we also went to sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning.
True.
Busy with plans.
Yes.
Or we also spend a lot of time working on the actual work delivery.
Yeah.
And we don't show that because I think it might, probably scare people from working in the industry. But the thing is, we work really hard. And that work ethic is changing.
Gotcha.
Because it's a generational change.
Yeah.
It's a very different way of thinking and operating.
Yeah.
And I think when you come into the industry thinking that you're just going to be going to parties and you're going to ask the media owners to pay for all your rounds of drinks, it's the wrong attitude.
Gotcha.
Like, all of those things take time.
Gotcha.
It's the same as like any relationship. You establish those friendships, and yes, they might be based on the work that you're doing. But like, you're not going to ask a complete stranger to buy you a drink.
Yeah.
You might. But
people are weird these days. Yeah.
But the truth is that you need those relationships to help serve the brand, the client that you're working with, not you.
Yeah.
And there I feel is a big disconnect. It's like people have forgotten why they're in the industry and what their responsibility is to their agency and to the brands that they work on, and how important that integrity is in the entire kind of ecosystem. You can't assume that, oh, I got invited to this party because I'm cool. No, you're invited to this party because you work on a cool brand.
Yes, true.
Remember that you represent the brand and your agency.
Yes.
And act accordingly with some decorum. I think the other thing is also, we have a lot of young people that don't like to speak to people.
Sure.
And it's amazing how generationally this has happened with the advance of technology. We've disconnected people from people.
Yes, true.
So on the one hand, I'm like, partially responsible for this. But the truth is, like, to pick up the phone and call somebody to ask about anything, people would rather send an email, and it's a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's unique. But what it is doing in our industry is causing a lag. Because then the email goes, then the person doesn't know if the other person got the email.
Yeah, you wait.
2 days have passed.
Yeah.
Then the
Then you
brand
follow up.
manager is like, hey, what's happening with my stuff?
Got you.
So it's created like this really weird dynamic where like, why do we not just call?
Yeah, true.
And
the relationships, how have you found those work in the industry? Maybe 2 things. Give me your client list, maybe top 3, the longest serving ones, and why you think you've kept them for so long.
Colgate at Wavemaker is our longest kind of serving client.
Yeah.
In our stable in South Africa, Netflix is also one of them. But Colgate's been around globally for a long time, and it's based on the strength of the relationship.
Okay.
And that, what I mean by that is from a global level, so from North America, where the global teams sit with Colgate, through to every region, through to every market or country, the experience that the client has with us as a team is of one unit. We work as one collective team.
Yeah.
We've walked like many different journeys. The client is incredibly respectful. You have the same experience with any Colgate person.
Got you.
Very informed, really clear on briefing, really clear on what KPIs we're measuring, and why we're doing it. And if you challenge, they understand you coming from a point of expertise. You're not just there because you decided today you want to challenge why we're measuring this KPI. You have a point of view. It's allowed to be voiced in a very respectful way. And they're very straightforward. Like I've been in meetings with the Colgate client where the client would be like, that was a really nice story you told us. But actually what I want is this performance thing, so we're not going to do your core strategy idea. And it's done with such respect that you're like, okay, got it. We'll move on to the thing that you want, that you need to deliver for your business. And they're very good at sharing back if things have worked. Like really well. Like how they measure their measurement framework in terms of down to store level, down to sales, down to countries, markets where activities working or not working. They are most knowledgeable. And they share that back to their teams freely. So
That's brilliant.
Creative team, media team, we get all the information we need to do good work. So that's what I mean by like strength of relationship, where even if you have a crazy idea as the media team, you can go to this client and go proactively, here's what we're thinking. And they can say, this is a great idea, but we might only do it in Q3.
Yes.
But yes, it's not going to go to waste. We think, wonderful. It's in line with what we want to do. And they're very, very, very good on drilling down from business strategy into marketing strategy into what their team should be doing. So,
and in strategy, where does strategy sit? They sit at agency, they sit with agency because this is stuff that we debate all the time, right? Should the strategy sit with agency or your above the line agency? Should the strategy sit with media agency? Or does the strategy actually come from your client?
So, a really good strategy involves all three parties.
Okay.
I would say the custodian of the strategy is the client.
Okay.
Right? But that strategy must be informed by the media team and the creative team. The best strategic work comes when all three are working together really well as one unit.
Gotcha.
They see themselves as one team and they know what their strengths are. I've had lots of fights with comp strategists at creative agencies.
You have. I can attest to that. You have.
Yes. Because we often come at the same thing a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And as the media team, because we sit on so much of data and information, we're like, what are you doing? As the comms strategist, they're like, we need to create this brand vision and it needs to align back to all of the brand values. And so it needs to be a bit more higher order thinking.
Yeah.
We tend to be a little bit more practical. A happy marriage is when we kind of align and agree on that. But the most important input comes from the client. Like if you as a marketing team are very clear on what you must deliver. And sometimes it's not possible. Like I understand there's complexities in a business organization. You know, I've been like seen it a lot where even if the brand marketers are trying, the business is not giving them what they need.
True.
Then you're like, okay, we'll work with you. If the relationship is a healthy one, the brand team can say to their teams, look, we get it, we're not giving you enough, but this is what we need to achieve. And it's a safe space. Nobody's exposed or anything. That's when the best work comes out. It's like, we're all in this for a common goal, a common purpose, a common vision. You know, I always tell my teams, I'm like, we will have products. And as the media team, because we understand the consumer side of things, we're like, okay, why are we launching this particular thing? Like, don't question the product. The product team would have done their work. Believe in the product and then get over yourself and do the work. Unless unless it's fundamentally the wrong thing, then I will have the meeting with the client to go, look, I know that you think this is great and I'm sure you've done the work. But here's what we're seeing in the market, and I just want to flag it. Not saying don't do it, but I'm just saying this is what's happening. Because sometimes, you know, the ear is not to the ground. We're like looking at social listening. We know what people are talking about, and now you're about to launch a product, and it's going to go down badly. Like, let's not do that.
Okay.
We try.
As we wind down, I feel like I always say that. But anyway, I want to read 10 points here. Then you'll tell me if you can identify with them. Sure. And then I'll ask you one question, then we close.
Okay.
So, on leadership, some wise lady once wrote, number 1, stay curious about everything. Number 2, a team is only as good as its leader. Lead well. Number 3, creativity and logic can go hand in hand. Number 4, always be the hardest worker in the room. Number 5, never being afraid to say yes to new opportunities. Number 6, be someone my children are proud of. Can you remember? Okay.
This is
Number 7, be commercially astute. Business is about making money. Let's not lie. And number 8, if you're not having fun doing what you do, you're in the wrong place. Number 9, being kind isn't a weakness. And then number 10, it's okay to not be the loudest as long as you are the boldest, when and where it matters.
I stand by that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This is brilliant. I saw this and I was like, this is exceptional. What made you write this?
I think I get asked by a lot of younger people in my agency, within the group, and then occasionally in the industry, like, why do you do the stuff you do?
Yeah.
Like some guidance and principles. And I was thinking about it, I was like, what are the 10 things I want people to understand? Like, anybody that works in advertising and marketing, sometimes this can be a really hard, thankless job. When you're trying to keep quite a lot of different people happy and those people are not clear on what they want, it's hard.
True.
So you better be having fun with the team that you have. and the only way, I'm a firm believer in leading by example.
Yeah.
You cannot, I've always respected people who could do the job I was doing, who had done the job I had done, no matter where I worked, no matter what role, and were now in a leadership role because I knew that they had once stood in these shoes. So they understood my pain, they understood what I was going through. My biggest admiration is for people that maybe don't come from the same industry, but will actually sit, like come in at quite a senior level and then meet everybody and then learn and understand what everybody does and where they fit in, and take those first 90 days to not impress the shareholders, but to understand the team.
Yeah.
That for me is like, that's a good leader. That's somebody like really understanding. And I think I wanted to kind of not be flippant about it, but I wanted to be like, these are the things that are important. These are the things over time that I've seen. My entire team when I was on Vodacom, kindest people. To this day, wherever they are within the organization or outside of my current group organization, really still the kindest people. And it got us more doors open. We got a lot of, like, we could negotiate anything from anybody. Client side, media owner side, it didn't matter. Because we weren't pushovers, but we were gentle enough when we needed to be.
Gotcha. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, last question. Grow fearless. What does that mean to you?
So Grow Fearless is a Wavemaker standard brand line.
Yeah.
And it really means, so the things that we stand for, positive provocation, which means, like my global CEO, Toby Jenner, says, your job is to have a point of view and have an opinion and speak that opinion. Your job is not to create schedules and put that together. Yes, that's the end result, or you do a campaign, but your job is to have an opinion where it matters about the brands you're working on. And that kind of ambition and that sort of fuel comes from being fearless. Actually not being afraid to say the uncomfortable things sometimes, to say like, why would you want to launch this at the same time that this other brand has spent so much more money, you're going to get completely diluted? Or actually, we know that the timing is wrong, but here's a great opportunity to do this thing, like strike while the iron's hot, or whatever the case may be. So Grow Fearless embodies that idea of being provocative for the right reasons, of having that point of view, and of not backing down. So having that courage to say, oh, I'm driving forward. It's a forward motion word, right? It's like driving growth, which is what we do for our clients. But it also is like for us as a team, or even you as an individual, it's an action word, right?
Yes.
It's grow fearless. It's literally saying, I want you to do it really well.
Yeah.
I want you to do it without fear.
Yeah.
Because you have the support and backing of this team.
Yeah.
So do that. That's what we come to work for every day.
That's brilliant. Boss lady, thank you for my time, or your time rather. Thank you for your
Pleasure.
time.
I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Yo, diaries,
while.
man. So thank you for your time. This has been a beautiful hour and a bit. I'm looking at the time there, hour and a bit. I hope this episode is helpful for people. You've shared a lot, and I knew it was going to be a technical conversation. So thank you for that. Really, 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 really appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. And yeah, I hope, people shouldn't be scared of the technical side of what we do
Yes.
at all, because there's somebody who's going to teach you.
Yeah.
There's no expectation that you come into this and just know.
Yeah.
I think that's one of I think that scares people a lot.
Yeah.
You don't have to just know, just ask.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's a wrap.